All right, shall we start?
Whoa,
Yeah.
nice nails. Can I see them?
Oh my god, they're ugly.
Sure.
Pretend this is your TED talk.
Yeah, go. Like, I can start.
Okay,
I
yeah,
haven't really gathered my thoughts, but we're going way back. Okay, so I came into Cal as an environmental science major. Actually, I came in as a nutritional science major. I don't think anyone knows that. But during the summer before I started, I switched to environmental science. I was in the College of Natural Resources, and basically I was like, this is not for me. Like, I spent my whole freshman year taking general ed courses to fulfill my breath, and I was like, I don't know where I'm going with this. And then my second semester of freshman year, I took Chem 1A, so I was like, this is so horrible. And the thought of taking another chem class, well, I was like, no, I don't want to do this ever again. So in the summer of my freshman year, I decided I wanted to switch to econ, because a lot of my friends were econ / pre-business, and in Berkeley you have to apply to the business school. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna try to apply. And then I was taking all these econ classes, and I was like, okay, I feel better about this. So at least if I don't get into the business school, then I feel better about econ as a major. I applied to the business school, got rejected. And that was like first big rejection. Okay, it's fine. I was like, great, I'll just do econ. After that, I was like, shoot, well, since I'm doing econ, I should decide what I want to do with econ. And I had no idea. Like, what do people even do? To go into like marketing, or what is a business or econ major good for? And then that sent me down a rabbit hole of trying to join a business club. And this was the second wave of rejections. So basically at Berkeley, you have to apply to business clubs, and most of them are very competitive. So I applied for one semester, I didn't get anything, and I was like, wow, so many rejections. You have to write really intense applications, go through all these interviews. The next semester, I was like, okay, I'll just apply to a few and see what happens, because if I don't get in after that, then it's fine. And then I applied to this club called, wait, I don't want to name the name. I applied to this club with these two ladies and I got in, and Vicky was actually my interviewer. It was a consulting club, and I didn't know what consulting was at the time at all. I just knew that as an econ major, people usually try to join a consulting club, and I was like, okay, I should try to do something with my life. After joining this club, I was very disillusioned, and I was like, I don't like this. My project is not what I wanted to do. The people I'm working with are not what I thought. But the next semester, instead of quitting, because a lot of people quit that semester, Gia told me to apply as a project manager along with her, because I was like, I'm probably gonna quit. And then she's like, oh, well, you should try to make the club better if you don't like it. And I was like, you're right. I don't know if you remember that. So I applied, and then I became a project manager, and leading my own project was such a struggle. In the summer beforehand, we were sourcing all these clients, and honestly, I was so bad at it. Like, without Vicky on the calls with us trying to get clients, I would just say nothing and then let Vicky take the call. And that was a minor wave of rejections. My project or co-project manager and I were just not getting any clients at all, and we're having so many calls. I had to take them during work. Vicky found a great company for us, and we had a call with them, and that finally worked out. Okay, so summing up my consulting club experience, it taught me not about consulting in particular, like about consulting, but also just exposed me to different business careers that were out there. You can do accounting, or you can do banking, or there's a lot of CS majors too. So it just exposed me to what different careers, project management or product management, and that kind of narrowed down my scope for what I wanted to do. So the next semester, as a first semester junior, so last semester, that was when I really intensely started applying to internships. This is when all the rejections started coming in. So many, because the summer before when I applied to my internship, that was maybe one of 5 internships that I applied to, and then it was just a very easy process. So I was like, okay, junior year should be better because I have more experience and I'm more knowledgeable and I want to do consulting. I should be fine. But I was applying to a bunch of things, and I was running around to all these info sessions for consulting firms, and that was so stressful. It's like, I don't even know what consulting is. I'm going to these info sessions and they're like, apply by this deadline, but I don't even know if I want to do it. Obviously, since I wasn't really prepared, I hadn't really done a lot of case interviews or practiced a lot, I wasn't getting interviews. And then I got one interview. I went in, it was just a behavioral, and I already got rejected from that round. And I was like, consulting is not for me. Like, it was just too brutal. Even if I would get to a case interview round, I have no way of passing that. And then I started applying to so many more roles: marketing, business analyst, just just like so many random roles. I was just getting so many rejections. I also got quite a few interviews, but I was not getting past the first round. I'm gonna end up with no internship and with nothing to do in the summer and with something that I don't want to do anyway. I probably applied to over 100 internships, which now in hindsight, I realize a lot of people probably do that. But at the time, applying through so many internships, I was like, this is terrible. And then by the time spring break came, the rejections just started flowing in again. And then it was like one after another. I was just like crying and I was like, I don't know what to do. And so during spring break, just kidding, it wasn't spring break, it was winter break. I applied to a couple more places for just random roles on Handshake. Which is our school's application portal. I got an interview for this place and it was a consulting firm. I was like, oh, I'm just gonna get rejected from it again. I practiced for the case interviews the night before and I was like, I'll just do 15 and just call it a day. Because at this point, like, you have to prep a very long time beforehand. So I went to the interview and it was like 3 interviews in succession. The first one that I did was a case interview. I really thought I bombed that. I was not doing the math right. The interviewer was just like, you were on the right track. The next interview was a behavioral interview. I talked about our consulting club a lot. A lot of the questions were just, what did you learn as a project manager, or having to juggle like working throughout the school year. Third one was an unstructured case interview. I came out of the interview like for sure rejected. I think a couple days went by, so they're pretty quick with their decisions. I got a call in econometrics and my phone was on 2% battery. Obviously, I was like, I can't answer it anyways because I'm in class, but I clicked on the transcript of the message that the person left and it said congrats, and I was like, this is probably a spam call too about like winning some tickets to a cruise trip or something. The transcript didn't pick up on the name of the company. It's like, what is this for? Like, it's actually a scam. I listened to it after class and it said I actually got that one for the one I did 3 interviews for, and I was like, what the heck? I really thought I bombed that. That is kind of the end of my story, which is all to say that I started from not even knowing my major to not knowing what career I wanted to be in my major after switching, to not knowing anything about the field I decided I wanted to go into, to like giving up on consulting to end up in consulting, to all the freshmen or sophomores, I guess, that you don't have to have your life figured out because everything will work out in the end. And it's really hard to know what you want to do without being really immersed in exploring that.
We
The
clap.
end.
Thank you for the inspiring story.
That was pretty structured.
That was very
that was
very like very detailed.
Popcorn tea.
Pete?
Vicky.
Me?
Oh, Vicky. Pete is successful at everything.
That's
I'm
not
sure. No failure.
Okay.
Mine is not nearly as like structured or thought out. So mine is about my experience like getting into college or undergrad specifically. I had applied to a bunch of schools that I really liked, and then 1 or 2 safety schools. And I didn't quite realize why I did this until like way later, but I had this thought that in order to apply to schools, you had to like get everything right. So I spent a ton of time on my essays. Really, I waited till the last minute to send all my applications in because I wanted to look it over and over and over. And I wanted to be like picture perfect. It turned out that was a big mistake. I got waitlisted at pretty much everywhere, like all of my target schools, all of my reach schools. And then I got into like 1 safety school. And that was like a very, very bad experience for me because I was just basically watching my entire 4 years of high school like blow up in my face. So for this short period between when college admissions decisions came out and when people started, there was like a day where everyone had to send in their decisions of whether or not they were going to go to the school, and those was like relatively universal. I think it was like about 3 weeks between when admissions decisions came out and then when all of the decisions were due. And then usually they would decide like waitlist students afterwards, after having an idea of like how many people are going. So I was like basically in hell for like this 3 weeks and I had like no clue what to do. I thought, okay, it's probably not productive to just kind of like lay around and wait for things to happen. So I did kind of the desperate thing, which is I went to a bunch of teachers and asked for more recommendation letters and then had them sent in to schools that I really wanted to go to. And then I'd like sent in cover letters and reached out to admissions directors and stuff like that. One day I was like really feeling down. I was eating pizza or something and I got a phone call from Cornell and it turns out I actually got in off the wait list, which was awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, so my big takeaway from there is don't try to make everything picture perfect. Pick a point where you're happy with it. Like just be practical, be quick. That's a really, really big thing. And be persistent for things you really, really want and really, really care about.
Thanks for sharing. Wait, this is a detour, but do you guys feel like in your experience, your college really matters or it doesn't? Because I feel like as a college senior, I don't know everything, but the college that I went to or go to doesn't really matter, at least as a business or econ like related major. And so I really think that your major and your experience matters more. But what do you guys think?
I agree to a bigger extent for me. For other people, I can't really say the same thing. But I wasn't really a recipient of one of those jobs from a big firm that those are targets. So since I wasn't really part of that pool of people who like got a job through that, you know, like a lot of bigger companies, they try to recruit at target schools, and like maybe like smaller schools don't really get that. So then I guess those people kind of lose out. And if you're one of those people who got into a company based on that, then yeah, good for you. Come from like a school that's a target school. But for me, that wasn't the case. I think it depends.
Yeah.
But for me, I feel like if I had gone to some other place and had done a different major, something more quantitative, something more than just like econ, that I could have like gotten to wherever I am right now just as easily, or I may even end up somewhere else. I'm not even sure. But at the end of the day, I feel like I don't think it really like mattered that much. And like coming from like a really big competitive school like UC Berkeley too, I think a lot of like employers kind of have a quota for the number of people they want to hire from like each school. So if you are competing against all the other great people from your school, yeah, then I guess you can kind of lose out. But
I feel like it was probably a little bit more important. Maybe a couple of years back, I see a change in the way that people are collaborating on the internet, because like pretty much if you have a passion project, you can most likely find somebody else from like another school thousands of miles away that may also have like the same interest. You know, there's so many technologies out there that allow you to collaborate. And so like in a way, I feel like I guess college doesn't really matter, but also speaking from like a personal standpoint, I'm someone who needs external pressure to, I guess, like force myself to do things that I probably wouldn't have otherwise done. Berkeley definitely provides me that type of external pressure, and it could be like a good thing and a bad thing. It's just how you manage that, how you allow what other people say or allow what other people do to affect you. But if instead of like the negative connotations of that, you allow other people to inspire you by all the things that they're able to accomplish, I think like that's a better way to look at it in terms of going to like a competitive school. And I think also like when you go to a competitive school, and I'm not saying that like there aren't people that are also like super driven and motivated at other schools, but I think it's like a little bit easier just because everybody is consolidated in one area to like find people like that. Like you guys, for instance, right? Like I know you guys are going to do amazing things down the line. You know, I'm not sure I would have made the same connections had I gone to a different school.
I think that's true. That's a more nuanced view than I thought of.
I actually have two things on that. There's like kind of a tangible aspect where for whatever reason, employers like to look at, you know, this notion of prestigious schools as like a good sourcing ground for like top talent, however they want to define that. Yeah, whether or not we like it. And obviously like this is not universally true. Like there's people who can get great jobs going, you know, to not name brand colleges. But for whatever reason, a lot of these larger companies tend to gravitate towards name brand universities. And because of that, like opportunities are a lot more than you would see elsewhere. Like you might hear about stories from people from like, I guess, lesser known schools. They just don't have nearly as easy of a time, like even getting noticed. But there's also like you said, intangible parts where it's like the type of people you meet, like kind of drive you a little bit more just because it's competitive environment to begin with. Also, this might not really matter too much for depending on like what kind of job you're looking for, but I think the quality of teaching actually makes a big difference. Teachers who give, you know, they try to drill in general things and not just like how to do this one thing. And that really makes a big difference when it comes to interviewing, being able to handle situations you've never seen before. I think it actually does matter, but it's not everything for sure. It's like,
I think another thing I wanted to kind of add was like I feel like going to a competitive college kind of makes you grow up professionally a little bit faster. Like I remember when I first got to Berkeley, I was applying to like consulting clubs, right? and they wanted like my resume. And I was like, what? Like, I didn't even know what like a resume really was back then. So I just like put one together, and it was like so ugly. It was like 4 pages long, going through all those interviews, through those clubs. And as toxic as the community is, I feel like that is the real world. You know, in the real world, you will be applying to a bunch of positions, and you will be getting a bunch of rejections. And I think Berkeley kind of prepared me for that.
Yeah, I guess we can say all this because we're at Berkeley and like we're very privileged to even have this perspective. Like personally speaking, I wouldn't say school mattered as much as I thought in high school, but because I haven't experienced any other college, like I also wouldn't know what the differences are. Like intangible aspects, like what Pete was saying, I think that's the biggest difference for me. I'm not very intrinsically motivated to seek out a lot of opportunities on my own. Being pressured by people around me was actually a good thing. A lot of people say like Berkeley is super competitive and cutthroat, which is true to some extent, but it's more like everyone is just trying to make the best opportunity for themselves, and naturally you want to do that too. Without that, I think going to any other school, I would not have felt that same pressure and probably wouldn't even have known what consulting was, because at a lot of other schools, like for whatever reason, consulting is not that, like maybe accounting is a lot bigger. So I guess just in terms of what you want to do, maybe school matters then, but if you want to do something, whatever school you end up at, like you can pursue it.
I can talk about an ongoing theme for myself, and that's carving out your own opportunities.
Oh yes, I love this story.
Where do I even start? So first, I actually transferred to Berkeley from a community college. We won't talk about what happened before that, but circumstances just made me kind of ineligible to go to a traditional like 4-year college right out of high school until I transferred to Berkeley. Honestly, like I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I thought I had it figured out. Honestly, I thought I was really good at that time for some reason until I realized I wasn't, and that finding a job was not going to be that easy. I thought it was just like going to be easy. Like, but yeah, so like my Berkeley experience was like, you know, any other traditional transfer student story. I had to find my way in to get into a consulting club in my junior year, which is not very common, I think, because by the time you're in your junior year, I think most people have, you know, some type of club experience. Yeah, I think. Tell me if that's wrong. So that's my only club that I joined at Berkeley. And then, you know, I only had 2 years. I think the most intense part of my Berkeley experience was probably just this last semester when I was heavily recruiting to have a full-time job. And I actually started recruiting last summer. I was actually like with Amanda trying to recruit at the same time. And at first I actually like did like a lot of consulting interviews too, just like Amanda. And I just got rejected from basically all of them, obviously, because now I'm here and I'm not doing consulting. Let's just preface that. But yeah, so after failing all of those interviews from last summer, after my second last semester in Berkeley, I still didn't get anything. I knew like in my last semester, I really had to like make something work. Last semester just ended. And basically what I did was I decided that since I only had 2 classes really to take left for my degree requirement, which is a pretty light course load, then I was going to go and pursue doing an internship at the same time while I was going to school, because like I just honestly at that time nothing really mattered to me other than like trying to find a job. I didn't care if I was going to get B's or whatever, it didn't matter. So I figured I was just going to do that, like do as much internship as I can, 20 to 30 hours a week, back and forth, like traveling. So I found an internship in San Francisco doing, and this is gonna sound really bad, but I did not want to do this, but I was like basically in strategic sales. And no, sales was not something I wanted to do, but I figured, and this is where carving out your opportunities comes in, but I figured I was just gonna get my foot into the door with something at a I didn't care where, just like a company, try to work my way into something else. Yeah, so that's basically what I did. In my first 2 weeks at the company, I found myself doing absolutely nothing because I realized the guy who hired me didn't even need me to do anything. So I decided that I was going to go talk to somebody, you know, that was doing something that I was actually interested in. And at that time, I don't know why, because Vicky has like a friend or like somebody in our consulting club like was doing sales operations, and it kind of interested me. And so I just thought about that because I knew that there was this or a manager in that company that was doing sales operations, and she was a sales operations manager. And since I was interested, I thought, okay, like there's only one of her, so maybe she needs some help. Or even if she didn't, we just wanted to talk to her, try to get to know what I'm supposed to do to get into that. So I asked for a coffee chat, just like to understand what her career path was like, so I could kind of like do the same thing. And literally that same day we went on a coffee chat. Like she basically told me like she had a lot to do and that she needed help and that I could just be her intern since I was already there. And basically she just went to talk to upper management and brought me over onto the operations team just like that, like overnight. Or like rather over a weekend, I think. Yeah, and the next weekend I came back and I was pulled into a room with the head of sales and he was like, we're offering you to do sales operations full time. Do you want it or not? Or like, yeah. And I was like, okay, yeah, sure. Yeah, so that's how I ended up doing that. And like sales operations is sales operations. But what I learned out of that was the necessary skills that a lot of companies require you to know if you wanted to do something more data heavy. Which is like the Excel, Salesforce, being able to interpret data, being able to collect it, be able to manage it, being able to draw insights. Even though it wasn't something that was like data analyst, but it helped me know the tools that would help in such a career. And like anything you don't know, you can just keep learning, keep building on it, right? So after doing that, and this is where like the sad part is, like that manager was very, very, very supportive of me from like the very start. She was, you know, like I told you guys about it. Like I dreamt about her in my dreams. Like the first week I started working for her, I dreamt of her because I was like so scared because she was like really hard on me. But because she like, it was for my own good. She wanted me to learn. So she would never give me answers. She'd give me a hard time whenever I didn't know something. Like keep questioning me. If I got something wrong, she would also like manage me, you know? So I was working a lot. I was getting there at before 8 a.m. sometimes. And like we both were very, very hardworking. So we were basically one of the first ones to like always get to the office. And then I would leave like at like 6 p.m. or something like that. And I was not supposed to work 40 hours a week, but that's what I would do too, because like I had to learn. And I was also having the hope of getting a full-time opportunity there. But then the pandemic hit. Okay. And like, honestly, everyone can probably relate to this. It's been hard and it's been very hard for me too. What happened was, even though my manager wanted to hire me full time, ultimately that didn't happen because the company just wanted to, I don't know what they wanted to do, but they started laying off a lot of people. Unfortunately, I received like, you know, just her telling me like one day, you're going to like have to leave soon. Your last day is April 30th. So that's when I stopped working there. Yeah. So that was the end of my journey at that company. But then I still had a full-time opportunity to look for. And so I started like recruiting more specifically for what I wanted to do, because now I kind of knew what I wanted to do in the scope of like my skills, because now I have like more experience, those tools and stuff like that. So I was more like, focused on what I wanted to do. And I managed to find something a little bit a month later, or less than a month after I left the company, the more like data analyst type of job. Yeah. And you best be sure that I will continue to carve out my opportunities, because I'm not, this is something I kind of want to do, but it's not really where I see myself being in like the next couple years even. And I definitely have other things that I want to like hone my skills in and try to go for. Like honestly, the only way you can do that is keep on trying to learn from people around you. If you see an opportunity, take it. If you can learn from, you know, if you can get access to something and learn it, do it. Keep going in the direction that you want to go. Make your own opportunities. So, yeah.
I feel like a theme, probably all of us, is that it just took the right person to talk to and to support us. It takes the right interviewer. It takes the right manager. Vicky.
I guess I'll just talk. Okay, so hopefully this turns into a story. I came to the States as a child.
We're really starting from...
When I was about, I'd say like 3 or 4, obviously I didn't know like a single word of English. So what my dad told me was I started like speaking Chinese apparently with like the other kids. So from that point, it was all about, I guess, like fitting into the crowd. You want to blend in. Going through like that experience as like a kid has kind of become a part of me. I always felt the need to fit in, but at the same time, I was also a very quirky person. I would say I had hobbies that other people didn't particularly enjoy, but the thing was that, you know, when you go to school as an elementary school kid or like as a middle school, high school kid, I'm pretty much able to separate like my own personal life with my social life. I've never really had any problems. Not that many people knew about the things that I did behind the door. Like for instance, I like really liked business for some reason. I didn't and I never did it for the money. It was always for like the experience of just like being able to like sell stuff. It like gave me adrenaline for some reason. But then like once I got into college, right, like things took a turn where everything kind of blended together. There were things that were called professional frats. There were things that were called consulting clubs that blended the social aspect of making friends with the business aspect, which is something that I also liked. I guess like applying to all these different clubs and like whatnot and getting like rejected from them, I felt like that my social life and like what I was like personally passionate about were both crumbling and kind of like falling apart because I was unable to pursue either of them. I guess like after experiencing that, I ended up changing a part of myself. I kind of like spent all my time, and this was during freshman year. So I spent like all my time trying to study, quote unquote, for like these case interviews for consulting clubs. I became really obsessed, and this is like really snaky, but I became like really obsessed with like knowing people that were in these clubs. And then I ended up like stop really talking to my high school friends as much. And I think I just started doing like what other people did. Like heard like other people were taking like 20 units or whatever. So I tried to take like as many units as I could because I wanted to be like them. Eventually, when I did try to reconnect with my high school friends after the first semester of freshman year, they ended up like not wanting to talk to me anymore because they felt like I had changed as a person and that our values no longer aligned. So, and they were like literally my closest group of friends. I was shocked because I never thought that that was something that could happen to me because in my head, I was like pursuing my passion, which is for some reason getting into a consulting club at the time, which looking back is super dumb. But like back then it was like the way you made friends in college. It was the way like you got to know people. It was the way I saw that people who got into consulting clubs had really good careers like later on. So it kind of got like impaled in my head that that was exactly what I needed to do at the school to succeed. And so basically that became my life. And then my friends thought I had like gone nuts during second semester because I had gotten rejected from like literally every single club my first semester. I tried extra hard my second semester to get in. So basically at the beginning of second semester, I spent every single day like doing cases. I don't even know what else I was doing. I think I was just like literally doing cases all day. In a way, I felt like I had like kind of like lost everything in a sense because I wasn't really particularly close to anybody in college yet. Then also I had like, and then I wouldn't have anybody to like hang out with. I guess I kind of just like ignored it. I just kept on working towards like my own goals. And then eventually I got into like the consulting club we're all a part of. And like in my head, I don't know why I thought this. It was like the club that gave me a chance because I had worked so hard and so long. I was like an analyst my first semester, right? And then I had like a lot of visions for this club and to like make it like so much better than what it was because I felt like I kind of owed it something for giving me a chance, and I wanted to essentially make that consulting club into something that I wasn't able to originally get into. And so yeah, I basically became like a project manager the next semester. I tried to create company relationships, but then I had the most terrible experience basically my life working with the people that were inside this club because it was super toxic and it was super political. But in my head, for some reason, it just didn't register because I was so like into the fact that I could make this club better than what it already was. Oh my God, like what am I saying? I applied as EVP in the next semester, and that was when Amanda and Gia became PMs too. And so like I was like, okay, like this is the semester to make SVC the greatest it's ever been in history. It wasn't my job, but I just kind of like did it without really saying anything. I spent like weeks like making our new website. I just spent like so much time and like dedication during that summer. Like I remember I was like working my internship, and then I would schedule all these client calls because I really wanted all the project managers to have clients. And then what ended up happening was the people that I was working with, who were also like VPs and president of the club, they ended up getting like mad at me for trying to initiate so many things over summer because it was break. I don't know, I guess I just felt like super down after that. And then like the following semester, for some reason, I just wasn't like really feeling school, and I felt like really unmotivated to do anything really. For some reason, I applied to another internship. I don't even know why I did it, but I applied and got the position, but I ended up backing out of school. So I ended up like withdrawing from school fall semester, like 2 semesters ago, literally like halfway through. I think that was probably one of like the best decisions I've made so far, because I think for the longest time, I kind of needed help. I think I was so into my own head about the things that I wanted to accomplish and the things that I thought I could get. So I was like really close to my roommate. I don't know, like she was in this consulting club, and like she wouldn't, I don't know, it was just like, I just felt like it was really messed up, like the whole situation. And I felt like the only reason why we're not friends anymore is because I wanted to get into like one of these stupid clubs so badly. That was also one of the best things that had happened to me recently, because I ended up moving in with Kevin. And so Kevin is like a friend of mine from like kindergarten, and he had like moved away after elementary school. So we didn't really keep in touch, but for some reason, just fate, we ended up housing with each other again. So that was super awesome. Dropping out of school for like a little bit, taking some time for myself, has enabled me to explore things that I had previously been interested in. Felt like for the past 2 years of college, it has only been solely professional stuff. So like trying to get like an internship, trying to get into like these clubs. I had like let that define me for like the longest time. But since I dropped out of school, like I wasn't really in that environment anymore. And so it kind of sparked my, I guess, old passions. That's like where my happiness lies. I don't know what the moral of the story is. I didn't really think about it. I don't know. I think sometimes like fate will just guide you down the right path. Yeah, that's so generic. I'm sorry for such a generic ending.
That was good. I think you covered a lot of things.
I think I talked for like 20 minutes. I'm sorry.
That was more on a personal level. What would you say like is your main goal right now?
Still somewhat professional, because like in the end, I still need a job. Trying to find a way to balance that social and professional, and like my own professional pursuits. Obviously, like I learned that I can't just completely ignore my friends and like expect them to like forgive me. But also, like if I were to just give up, pursue my own goals and only focusing on the social aspect of things, then that would also make me super unhappy as a person.
I think it's interesting that you brought up clubs in Berkeley often mix like professional and social life, because both Gia and I didn't start recruiting until like quite late in the game per se. But I'm sure if I started recruiting as a freshman, I would have felt the exact same way as you did. First of all, it's really hard to be judged by your peers who are the same age as you telling you that you're nothing.
No, it took me so long just to realize that a bunch of people are really just gatekeepers.
I don't want to talk like about clubs in particular too much from my experience, but people don't know about clubs at Berkeley, I guess. If you join a club at Berkeley that is prestigious or not prestigious, most people or recruiters have never heard of any of these clubs.
Yeah,
and so they won't know. And like the important thing is to recruit for an internship or job that matters.
Like my last semester, I definitely did not think twice about dropping the club over an internship. Like, even if it was like not really an internship, I thought that I really, really wanted. But I definitely knew that it was going to be more valuable than still being in the club.
Who knew? I mean, high school me did not know anything. I guess what sparked this is college decisions are coming out for class of 2024. And I was thinking back to my high school self. I didn't know anything. Like, I thought I was like smart, got into Berkeley. I thought it was like set. No. The self-learning or exploration only begin in college.
Yes, truly.
Completely agree.
And I think like if you make it into a really, really good college, a really prestigious college, I feel like at the time when I made it into like Berkeley, for example, I felt like, oh, I was set for life. But I'm sad to tell you that that's not necessarily true. Good if you make like most of your college experience and you actually do a lot of learning. But if you don't, going to Harvard or going to any of the Ivy Leagues or going to Berkeley is not going to help you that much more. And life also just like never stops, and you can never stop learning. I think one of the biggest downfalls of any person, really professionally at least, is if you stop learning and you stay stagnant.
Mhm.
Things are always going to change.
I think there's a lot of really good takeaways here. Seek out opportunities. Don't forget your friends. Uh, don't take rejections to heart. Carve out your own paths. Keep at it. Like, believe that there's something out there for everyone.
Also go at your own pace.
Don't take things for granted.
I also definitely always believed that I had to be somewhere by like some age. It put a lot of pressure on me, like thinking about all of this and like making myself think that I have to like achieve all of that. And then sometimes I pull myself back and I think about the fact that like hopefully I'm going to live for another like what, at least 60 years. I have so much more years to like get to where I want to be. So why am I like making myself believe that I have to do all of this like right now?
Especially getting out of college, you're like, my life has not even begun yet.
This is gonna sound kind of lame, but that's actually why they call the graduation ceremony commencement.
Oh, okay.
What? I did not know that.
What is that? What do you mean? Oh my god, every time somebody like asks me about homescapes, I have